Director of Alpha Omega Institute. My wife Mary Jo and I founded the Alpha Omega Institute to show people that they are not the product of millions and billions of years of evolution as goo changed into you by way of the zoo. Instead, you are a purposeful act of creation of a living, loving God. That is what this series is all about. We feel it is crucial in today's society that you know where you came from. We'll start this series with a question. Did you know that you are in a battle for your hearts and minds? It is a battle of worldview. On one side, we have biblical Christianity. On the other side is evolutionary naturalism. It says you can't believe the Bible. No God was necessary to create. The world and all it contains can be explained by natural processes. That worldview teaches that some kind of Big Bang event occurred billions of years ago, which propelled all the matter into our universe. Then, over billions of years, that matter assembled itself into galaxies and planets and all the order that we see in the universe today. After several more billion years, another accidental event gave rise to an atmosphere on planet Earth. Lightning then zapping through that atmosphere supposedly produced amino acids, which accidentally got together to form proteins, enzymes, and DNA. Finally, all of this assembled itself into the first living cell. As cells multiplied, they changed. The changes mounted up until fish, reptiles, mammals, ape-like creatures, and all the diversity we see today finally came into existence. This is naturalistic evolution, or the goo to you by way of the zoo method of getting life. One major branch of naturalism is humanism, acknowledged as a religion in the U.S. by the Supreme Court in 1961. Three tenets of their doctrinal statements are: 1, the universe is self-existing, not created. Forget Genesis 1:1, in other words. Number 2, man has emerged as a result of a continuous process. Of course, that's evolution, the goo to you by way of the zoo. And 3, no deity will save us, we must save ourselves. What they are saying is, forget Genesis 1:1. Forget man being created in God's image, and forget John 3:16, the gospel message. Do you understand that this is a frontal attack on the Bible and biblical Christianity? One of their numbers, John Dunphy, called for an attack against Christianity. He wrote, "I am convinced that the battle for humankind's future must be waged and won." Where? In the public school classroom, by teachers who correctly perceive their role as proselytizers of a new faith. What's that faith? Humanism. Okay? Now, I'd want to stop here and say, not all teachers are in this battle. We have great teachers in the public education system. And if you are a teacher in the educational system, I say, great, stay there, we need you. I believe the public education system in America today is one of the biggest mission fields possible to be in. Well, John Dunphy continued in his quote. He says these teachers must embody the same selfless dedication as the most rabid fundamentalist preachers, for they will be ministers of another sort, utilizing a classroom instead of a pulpit to convey humanist values in whatever subject they teach, regardless of the educational level, preschool, daycare, or a large state university. The classroom must and will become an arena of conflict between the old and the new, the rotting corpse of Christianity, together with all its adjacent evils and misery. And the new? Humanism, resplendent in its promise of a world in which the never realized Christian ideal of love thy neighbor will finally be achieved. Kind of sick thinking, but he won a prize with that essay, telling me there were a lot more people thinking just exactly like he does. In this battle for worldviews, the opposition to Christianity must keep creation out of the classroom and see to it that only evolution is taught. Therefore, whenever anyone wants to include creation in the classroom, what do you hear? Oh, we can't have that. Evolution is science. Creation is religion. We can't.
Welcome back.
Well, we're back, man. That was quick. Did you notice that he said there that that the humanist viewpoint was decided upon by the Supreme Court as being a religion? Now, you notice the battle that's been fought in the school systems and school boards in the last few years around the country, that you should have no criticism of Darwinian evolution. You cannot allow that. Of course, that's against freedom of academic inquiry and thought. It's against freedom itself, which is what the movie Expelled is about. It has many scientists have lost their jobs because they would actually say that there are some problems with Darwinian evolution. We've got, if you go to Dissent to Darwinism on the internet, Dissent Darwinism, there are over 800 prominent scientists who've signed their names to the statement that there's major problems with Darwinian, but they're not allowed in secular universities often to speak about this. They'll get fired because there's been a movement over the last 80 years to take control of academia in science to only allow the evolutionary standpoint. And that's because of, we talked about it before, Jesus talked about this spiritual warfare. We'll get to you in a minute, Roberto. This spiritual warfare in heavenly places against Satan and his demons. And by the way, I've seen demons cast out of people. There were many people there when it happened. With one of them, with several of them. One person got released from a mental institution. Go on with that. We've seen, we saw phlegm come out of one girl's mouth as these demons were being released. She wasn't throwing up, it was phlegm. I've never seen that before. I don't see how that is possible in the natural for anybody to do that. But we saw it, many people saw it. Things like that. Well, many people have seen others. There's only one other person there with me with that one. In that exorcism of those demons. That was years ago, in the late 70s, and we're still in touch with that person. But in any case, there's a supernatural battle, and these demons do not want you to be saved and go to heaven. They want you separated from God for eternity. Mainly, I think, because the Bible says we're made in the image of God, and if we remind the devil of God, it seems to make him nauseous. And he says, I get more nauseous every time someone's born again. And I don't want to see you image of God people. And maybe in his madness sometimes he thinks he can win the battle. But Roberto likes to talk about other religions and why is Christianity the only religion. And that's what we've been talking about for 5.5 years, Roberto. And you've got to get on the internet, see some of our programs, or we'll send you a couple. But why don't you make a point or two briefly, and we'll go back and forth briefly with any point you want to make.
Okay.
I'm sure you've made them before.
Can I speak?
We will allow you to speak now, Roberto. Yes.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Well, one of the thesis statements that you're making is that humanity was created in the image of God. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, one of the problems that I have with this statement, it is that many of the metaphors that were created on the Bible, first of all, have been used over the past 500 years for one population and one genoprofile to dominate over the others. One. Let me just continue. That's one of the statements
I'll let you
that
continue.
to me is wrong. Can I continue?
Very briefly. I'm about to cut you off because you made one point.
So one of the problems that I have with Christianity as it is presented in this program, it is that it only reflects upon the past 200 to 500 years. When in reality,
okay, let's
the
stop
image
it
of
right
God
there. Let's stop it right there. Roberto, we'll let you back in a minute. Now you see, you're not watching our program very carefully. Not at all. We talk about the Dead Sea Scrolls. We talk about the Old Testament. The Dead Sea Scrolls contain huge sections, and full books in some cases, of the entire Old Testament except for the book of Esther. The Dead Sea Scrolls, we talk about it often, Roberto. The Dead Sea Scrolls were all compiled and put together before 70 AD. Now 70 AD, if my mathematics is correct, is not 200 to 500 years ago. It's more like almost 2,000 years ago. We talk about that. We talk about cuneiform tablets going back to 800 BC, 2,800 years ago. And we talk about Ugaritic languages and stuff like that. And a lot of those tablets agreeing with the Bible going back 2,800 years ago. So, Roberto, I don't know where you get 200 to 500 years. That's a false statement that I needed to correct right there. So don't build on that false assumption, because when you build a foundation on falsity, you end up with falsity as a result.